All over Europe and the wider world this weekend, people will be marking the 100th anniversary of the end of the Great War, when the guns finally fell silent.
One element of the conflict that's often overlooked is the war at sea. But if you travel to the far north of Scotland, you can now have a deep dive into one of the most famous chapters of that story.
My name's Emily Turton. I am the skipper of one of the dive boats up in Scapa Flow. My boat's called Huskian.
What we're really interested in is the First World War German naval fleet that was scuttled in Scapa Flow on June the 21st, 1919. Scapa Flow itself is a big bit of water surrounded by the islands of Orkney, and it was strategically best for our British naval fleet for both World War I and World War II, and then also big enough to put the German Navy when it was interned after the armistice at the end of November 1918.
Just before the Treaty of Versailles was signed, which officially ended World War I, the German fleet was scuttled. It was the last remaining act of war open to the commanding officer there, Admiral von Reuter. And essentially what he did is make sure that nobody could have his fleet.
Okay, let's have a look at what she looks like underwater. Now this is the deepest part of the German fleet here. Using digital imagery to help break down the ships to my divers before they get in the water really helps them have more of a mental image of what they're trying to see before they see it. So this scan image was done by a team at Dundee University.
I'm Professor Chris Rowland from the University in Dundee, and I run a 3D visualization research lab particularly interested in historic shipwrecks. I'm involved with a small team who are looking at bringing images of the shipwrecks of the German fleet out to the general public so that people who can't dive or don't get the opportunity to dive on them will actually see what's there. And this huge legacy from World War I is just under the waves here. Myself and Professor Kari Hoitonen, we dive as a team. I'll carry about 60,000 lumens of light, so that's a lot of light. And Kari will carry his camera with extra lighting. And between the two of us, we basically record high-resolution video around the wrecks and the features of the wrecks. When we bring that back to the surface, we can then use software to produce the 3D image from those images.
The German fleet are in quite silty conditions. So when you first get in the water and you're going down this line, you're diving on something that can be 145 metres long, but the mystery of it you discover in 10-metre chunks, 15-metre chunks. That's something that some people find a little bit spooky, but I find really exciting. So this ship, SMS Markgraf, one of 4 König-class battleships built for the First World War German Navy. This ship's 145 metres long, it's 30 metres wide. And if you picked her up and put her on the bathroom scale, so her displacement is around about the 26,000 tonnes. They are the vanguard of Germany's navy during that war. And to have 3 of them here is really quite, well, it's unique.
The wreck that we were diving today is the site of the Bayern turrets. So the Bayern battleship, when it was salvaged, the 4 turrets were left on the seabed. And they're pretty dramatic to see. This was the last military action of World War I, and every time we see the wreck, or any of the wrecks, we're reminded exactly what that means in history.
My name's James, and I'm a scuba diving instructor here in Orkney.
Snorkels in, let's go out.
It's maybe one of the best sites in the world to come and dive these types of ships and be this accessible at this depth as well. You can come to Scapa Flow and visit the Churchill barriers, having never dived before, and complete your first ever dive on World War I and World War II ships that were sunk as part of the war.
To have such history surrounding those shipwrecks, to be able to dive on what was the biggest scuttle ever is quite something.